Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. So from Mex Nation, we'll get started. We are actually starting on time. Where is everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. So from Mex Nation, we'll get started. We are actually starting on time. There we go. We got some people around there right now. All right, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiso from Mex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football, Mexican soccer, balompié mexicano, whatever you like to call it. Let's talk about Mexico for a full hour. I want to say hi to everybody on the chat already. Yes, we had started early. We're starting early today. No es tiempo mexicano. Just our turn. But we're going to have a great show for you guys today. We'll talk all about El Tri Olimpico. Big game coming up on Wednesday. We're going to talk about, obviously, the two absences now because of injury for the national team. Big, I think, a huge blow for Mexico and now the substitutes that have come in. And then also we'll dive into the leagues that are starting out, give you a little update on what you need to know coming up in the following weeks with all of our Europeos, our Mexicans abroad, and the not so abroad. Also here, Liga MX, week 5 coming up. So lots and lots to talk about today. Good to say hi to the guys that are joining me today. Mr. Naib Moran in Mexico City. Naib, how's it going, brother?
Buenas noches, Jason, Wiso, great to see you. Also to the audience, buenas noches. It's as I was saying in the beginning, I mean, we're entering a period of time where a lot of games are getting bunched up. And certainly this Sunday, you know, we had at 11 in the morning, Mexico time, the Mexico-Fiji game, and it sort of kind of ruined the start of the day. And then we had some Liga MX matches then afterwards. So
Liga MX is still going on, huh?
Huh?
Liga MX is still going on.
Yeah, it's still going on. It's getting, I think, we're getting to a point, I think, where the teams are starting to sort of roll at a pace that we should see them at. You know, I think this weekend Monterrey got their first win of the season. It's a team that should have won since the first week. And also, I mean, we're seeing complications in teams like Cruz Azul and León. And I think that's also part of this whole deal of Liga MX of how different it changes. It changes every 6 months, and I think that's something to point out.
Definitely, lots and lots to talk about, especially with the Tri Olimpico. Mr. Jason Marquardt, welcome back. I know you took a little vacation there. Good times.
Yes, they were, and happy to be back on the show. And well, not the best of times. I think we're on a bit of a down note after the news of yesterday, but hopefully better times ahead. I don't know, a lot to talk about. So let's get into it.
Good. Well, Mr. Jason already on the chat. Let's see who we have there that is already saying hi. Joanna Sanchez, Franklin Copeland, MB23, Cristiano Romero, already talking. Mr. Steve Graff saying hello. Great writer for Mex Nation. Joel, of course, Mr. Joel Bot, who's on there. So already lots and lots of questions. Samuel Jimenez already talking. So if you're not, obviously we'd love to invite for you to come in and ask us some questions here on the chat. We're monitoring there. And also on Twitter if you are listening to us live and you can't get to a computer. I know a lot of people watch us or listen to us on the drive home. For those of you that are on the West Coast driving home, or on the East Coast if you have a late shift or something. But we're having a lot of fun here, especially here with the chat that's on. So let's go ahead and get started. We jump right into the first topic, and it's El Tri Olimpico. As you know, Mexico with 4 points in Group C of the Olympics here in 2016 in Rio. And the story is one more game and Mexico could be eliminated, or one more game and Mexico could be at the top of the group. I don't think a lot of people would have guessed that it would have been this tight. Now, looking at Korea, a team where I've usually does okay in these types of competitions, if we've seen the last World Cups, especially youth tournaments. And then looking at the German team, we could have guessed that it was going to take us a little trouble, but Mexico is doing what it needs to do, at least getting some points. But let's go and dive into it. Big news. Naib Moran is going to tell us a little bit about, obviously, the two Mexican players, Rodolfo Pizarro and Mr. Oribe Peralta, El Hermoso, no longer with the team. Naive, give us the info. Who's coming in? How does that impact Mexico? Does it help? Does it hurt it? And what's the overall status of the team because of the substitutions that are coming in?
Well, certainly. I mean, everything happened sort of in the last minute, because after the match ended between Fiji and Mexico, I mean, we did notice that Peralta was banged up, and of course, when Pizarro walked off the pitch, it was noticeably that it was something serious. But later, in I would say an hour and 30 minutes after the match ended, then we started hearing from Brazil that it was actually a fibula fracture for Pizarro and a nose fracture for Peralta. Peralta played the whole second half with the nose fracture. Keep that in mind. I mean, I think that's pretty impressive from Peralta, and it tells you a little bit about the type of leader that this team will miss. I think out of the three overage players, the one that you didn't want him to leave this tournament at this stage, that was Peralta. Peralta had
You're doing
transmitted.
really good.
Yeah, he had transmitted a lot of leadership, and so and the pace that he offered up front was important. And when you see Talavera's mistake, when you see Torres Nilo's mistake in Germany's second goal, well, those overage players haven't stepped up to the occasion. So the two replacements that will come is Carlos Fierro from Querétaro, who's on loan in Querétaro from Chivas, and Deditos Lopez, who was sold from Chivas this offseason to Pachuca. Um, I think out of those two, perhaps Raúl Deditos Lopez could offer something, especially considering that with Potro Gutierrez in the first two games, he's used the 4-4-2 formation, and I think Deditos Lopez could fit in one of those midfield roles if he decides to go again with the 4-4-2 formation. I'm not sure if he's going to continue with it now that Peralta is gone, and Fierro is sort of an uncertainty. I mean, Fierro hasn't started with Bucetich. Bucetich hasn't been pleased with Fierro's attitude and sort of performance at Querétaro, and that's why he doesn't appear in the 11 at all. But it's an opportunity that falls from the sky. I mean, I think Fierro didn't expect to be in the Olympics, but Fierro is a player that knows Potro Gutierrez because in the 2011 U17 World Cup, Fierro was in fact one of Potro's main players in the attack.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the big news that came out. The two players that were named, in the secrecy of the four players that were named, finally it came out. Lots of lists, but now that we know, let's take a step back. Jason, not the greatest results that we were looking for in the national team. Obviously that tie against Germany, I said, that's good for a German team. I thought it was a great match, 2-2, where you saw Mexico struggle a little bit on defense, but Oribe Peralta doing great. Now coming in, everyone was freaking out, including me, especially watching the match and seeing that Mexico was down 1-0 to a team that has one person that plays in a professional league. These are amateur players in the island of Fiji, and we're able to bring that garra that most Mexican people want our players to have, and they're down 1-0. Calm down. It came back 4-1. But talk about the results and how now we're going into the game on Wednesday, and it's a must-win situation.
It's almost not surprising in some ways. I mean, obviously the going out and going into halftime and being down to Fiji was not ideal and a bit surprising. But in some ways, it's not surprising because we've seen this so many times with Mexico, even with the senior team, with youth teams just kind of playing to the level of competition. And you saw the way Mexico came out against Germany, and they were just, I don't know, the intensity was there right from the start. And you saw what that game meant to all those players on the field, and there was a letdown against Fiji. I mean, I think there was an expected result going into that, and you saw it in the players. They just weren't the same players that we saw against Germany. And I mean, you could analyze it for a lot of reasons, but you just don't bring the same intensity you bring to like a match with Germany that you do to Fiji. It's just different. I think that's probably where that starts. I look back at that first game, and I sense there was a lot of uneasiness and unhappiness with the draw. I think because you're leading 1-0, you're leading 2-1, and you expect to get the win at that point. And I still think it was a pretty good result, as you said, Wiso, because it was a tough game for them. But at the same time, I wouldn't expect Potro to turn this team of kind of free moving, free passing, just this exciting like young core that this team has into this sit back and protect the lead kind of thing for the second half. Like I think that probably would have turned out poorly in that game. It could have even been worse. So I don't know. For me, I think that first game was a decent result. It would have been great to get the win, but I don't think anything went wrong. I think we got great performances across, like from a lot of players on the field. Second game, it was what it was, but I think it was corrected in the end. It's just, I mean, at this point, it's all about those injuries because, as Naib alluded to, like they're big ones. They're losses. Like, of course, I mean, Peralta. The loss of Peralta is huge. I mean, he said it's the worst like overage player you could lose. Like, I think most people would be okay with just losing the other two overage players altogether. So I don't think it's really like a problem. But yeah, of course, Peralta. The loss of Peralta. I mean, we're looking at Marco Bueno up there next to him. So I mean. And we're plugging in Carlos Fierro at this point. I mean, it's not Oribe Peralta and what he brings to that front line. The leadership aspects, as Naib mentioned as well, but just, I mean, the dude scores. So like it's problematic. It's troubling for sure. And then, I mean, not Pizarro. Like there's argument to made. He's been one of the best players for this team, maybe even the best player for this team. So losing him at this point, man, that hurts.
Naib. I want to step back. We'll go into a little bit about on what happened, and we'll keep going with the last game. But Potro Gutierrez, in the first game, it looked like there was just a chalkboard, and he said, "This is Chucky Lozano. Get the ball to him." In every situation, it looked like Chucky Lozano was the answer to Potro Gutierrez. And the minute he got subbed out in the other game, and the first game, and also in the last game, it looked like the team flowed a little better, had a little more confidence. Is Chucky Lozano underperforming in this, or does Potro Gutierrez have too much confidence in the Mexican youngster?
Well, I think we got to see it different ways. It's a good question what you just asked, because we get the notion that he's playing horrible. I mean, I think we do sense that, because he's missing chances that he was making at Pachuca just a couple of weeks ago. But Chucky is the main player that this U23 side has. When you take off Peralta, the main goal scorer of this U23 side in the qualifiers was Chucky Lozano. And not to say that the whole team revolves around him, but he's the sort of end mark to every single play. I mean, that's how it was before Peralta was included into this, because Marco Bueno is not at Chucky Lozano's level. Let's be honest. I mean, it's not like Marco Bueno has been knocking in goals in first division in Liga MX. Chucky has. I think the problem here with Chucky has been the formation. I mean, I think it doesn't fit him to play in a 4-4-2, because all of the protagonism up front will go to Bueno and to Peralta, and that sort of relegated Chucky a little bit off. It took him off, even though he got scoring chances, but he's too carried on that left wing, and doesn't give him that much freedom. And Pachuca, they tend to play the 4-3-3, so it does give him that sort of liberty to move to the center, to cut to the right, to cut to the left. I mean, he has more liberty, and in this U23 side, he's been really just placed on that left side. And let's see what happens. Now, what happened against Fiji that was interesting was that when Gutierrez was moved more towards the left side of the field, he banged in a poker, 4 goals. I mean, so which makes you think that if you have a left-footed player in that position that Chucky was playing, because Chucky is a natural right-footed, then maybe that's the bet. Go with Gutierrez on the left, and considering how tough this match against Korea will be, it will be highly surprising to see Chucky on the bench. But you never know. I mean, I think after the performances that Chucky has had so far, it wouldn't be surprising to see him on the bench against Korea.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think something troubling too is just the lack of defensive help. I mean, Mexico's backs need some help. I mean, if we saw anything in that Germany match, they really needed a little assistance from midfield, and they weren't really getting it. I don't know how much you can really lay that on Chucky, but I mean, he's part of that, especially in a 4-4-2. Getting back and helping those backs, and it wasn't really there. You saw what Narby? Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying that?
Gnabry?
Okay. I'm not sure what to do with that G, but yeah, You saw what he did to this, what he did to
Well,
Abella, and like,
yeah.
man, it was ugly. So I mean, like, Mexico's backs are a problem area. So I mean, like, I don't know. I think moving into that Korea game, that really needs to be an issue and kind of just be addressed somehow. How they're going to be helped.
And not that Potro's not doing anything well. I just feel like it goes to the. I mean, we have to fault in the way that Mexico came out in that first, the first half of the last game. It's the coach's job in order to get everybody ready, and it looked like Mexico wasn't ready. It looked like they were way overconfident. Going into that
and I think it was scary when Fiji scored the goal because the mistake was awful from Talavera.
Oh my gosh!
And then imagine if it had gone 2-0. I mean, what would have happened? And it could have.
There was a play towards the end, the first half, that it could have been 2-0. Now, granted, when that 1-0 came out, I said, all right, Mexico's going to come back. It's Fiji. Fiji can't keep up this intensity. Fiji also made it really hard for Korea. Korea, I think, scored 7 goals in the second half, or 6
goals in the second
like that.
half, yeah.
But I'm not seeing the same Potro. He looks nervous out there. He doesn't look confident. I feel like it's not working. His planifications of the games are not working, and he's trying to figure out. Now, it's hard, right? We don't know what Germany had. Obviously, you don't know what a Fiji had. Maybe now that he's seen Korea and the tapes, and he's going to go back and he can actually do something to try to outsmart whatever the Korean coach. But I just feel like Potro is kind of fishing out there with the Chucky strategy, which to him, you said that Chucky was the main guy in that formation, but what is he going to go against Korea? Because it's a must win game, and the Koreans are going to be tough. It wasn't like they're sitting back. They like to score. They're a lot faster, and I don't know, but I feel like every team that we've faced, I think Mexico has looked nervous, and I haven't seen that that calmness that we've seen these types of teams have that Mexico brings. So these guys are amazingly fast. So interesting to see what he'll bring. Naib, I know we already touched up and with Jason about Talavera not doing so great, and also Torres Nilo not doing so great, and now they're missing Oribe Peralta. This is surely, los tres refuerzos aren't really doing a lot, but Talavera, a goalkeeper that has been one of the best in the last 3 years for Mexico. I feel like since he hasn't had that tournament, I mean, what tournaments do you remember Talavera excelling on? I think maybe the 2011 Gold Cup, he was the keeper. But other than that, ¿le está quedando grande un torneo grande?
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult with Talavera. That 2011 Gold Cup, remember, it was because of the Clembuterol, no?
Yeah.
That's why, Ochoa had to leave, and Talavera came to the rescue. I also remember Hector Reynoso came to the rescue in that 2011 Gold Cup. But I don't. Talavera, this was a moment for him to show a lot of grit, a lot of trust, a lot of confidence, and he hasn't expressed it to his fullest potential.
Have you seen Talavera really yell? I mean, is he a type of person that likes to take dominance of the defense? Because I have never seen that guy. It's like he's always one face. You never see him get angry. You never see him get happy. He does his job.
And keep in mind that in Toluca they got Paulo da Silva. Paulo da Silva does the screaming in the back line.
Quiet down.
Not Talavera. I mean, if you compare JJ Corona to Talavera, between both Olympics, there's a huge difference.
Well, el respeto que tenían. I mean, they had a huge respect for Corona. Like even if you watch the documentary, they would. There was a scene where everybody had an apodo, a nickname, and to Corona, no, Corona, he's the captain. We don't.
They were a little scared of him, probably, but yeah.
So I mean, I think it's different here. The scenario, I don't see Talavera with the capabilities of a leader as Peralta or even as Salcido, who was also part of the last Olympic team. So I mean, these are two players that are not your typical leaders. In Tigres, Torres Nilo is not a leader. I mean, it's Juninho, it's Guido Pizarro, it's Gignac, but it's not Torres Nilo. And I think when you have these overage player positions to fill up, I think you got to pick the adequate players. I mean, I think that's where the last team was probably stronger because I think they pick three excellent options there with Salcido, Corona, and Peralta. This one, it's looking like it's incorrect one. I mean, but this is a decision that Potro Gutierrez decided to take, and now we'll see if he. What I don't know. I mean, we'll judge him after the result against Korea. Which is not an easy team. Korea won the bronze medal in the last Olympics.
They did. I did not think about that. They did. Wow. I mean, it's this Olympic football tournament is not shaping out to to what anybody would expect with a lot of the, let's say, favorites. If Mexico is defending the gold, we could say is a favorite because of the recent successes what the youngsters would have. Brazil at home not getting any goals and any wins. Argentina struggling. Granted, they just kind of put a team together.
Nigeria has been a phenomenal story. Nigeria arrived 5 hours before their debut, and they went.
That's right. They were in Atlanta one day in the morning, and they were able to beat Japan, wasn't it? They were able to beat Japan. Japan usually has a good team in these. Somebody tweeted out, I think in Mexico, that said Mexico and Brazil are favorites still. But we're looking at Portugal maybe is probably one of the favorites now. Germany, to see what happens, but even Germany can lose out. If I guess they'll be able to beat Fiji. So
I would think
looking
so.
with that, but big story is Brazil in these games with Neymar. Making sure he missed the
Copa America Centenario.
Copa America Centenario over him not be able to score. They have a tough match against Honduras. That's Honduras with Jorge Luis Pinto. He knows. It's like he knows these types of tournaments. It looks like those youngsters. I was watching that game against Portugal, and
he loves Brazil. He loves Brazil.
Yeah, like it's gonna be exciting games on Wednesday, and all the games are on Wednesday. But what do you guys see? A lot of people on the chat right now saying, they're not very confident this Mexican team from what they saw against Fiji. Some of them saying that Joanna Sanchez saying we're not gonna make it. We won't be able to make it, and if we don't make it, hit the panic button. 7-0 Copa America. Leaving early now out of the stage. I asked Tom Marshall last week. What would be a devastating result where maybe coaches changing, federation problems, turmoil for Mexico, and it was not getting out of the group. Do we still feel like that? Because I see that defense sometimes in the way that it's so easy, especially through Abella, on the left side, and Torretino not being 100%, because I feel like he's not contributing as much as he could to the team. I think in some defensive plays, he's there in his leadership, he knows what to do, but be careful against Korea. I think it's going to be a tough game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I worry where the goal's going to come from Mexico. I mean, without Peralta up there, I think it's concerning. I could see Mexico going out there and just being unable to find that goal, getting possession, creating chances, and not scoring. And that's my fear at this point. I feel like it's going to be a low scoring, and it's just going to be whether they could take advantage of those good couple of chances that they find. And there's hope that without some of these players like Pizarro, like Peralta. And maybe if Chucky's not in there, maybe if Potro does mix up that lineup, that maybe the ball moves around a little, just a little bit more. Maybe there isn't like those definite targets where you expect to finish something off. So there's a little bit more movement, and it ends up being an easier chance. That's the optimist look at it. But it's a little concerning. I'm a little worried they're just not going to be able to score come Wednesday.
El Guti goleador Naib. I mean, granted that he did get that poker, but is that our hope for Wednesday and the scoring possibilities?
I mean, I see it. It's complicated because when I see both games, I mean, I think the Germany game, like Jason described, I think it was a good game overall, but it wasn't the complete 90-minute performance. I mean, I think that was a good. In the second half, I think Germany did dominate for several minutes, I'd say more than 10 minutes, and that's why it's not a complete game. The Fiji game, it was basically a game of two halves. One horrible half and the other one, normal half. Let's just put it that way, normal half.
Yeah.
How it should have played out. it wasn't phenomenal either. But and here against Korea, I think they have to give their best game. I mean, because people were saying that the game against Germany was the best game that they have seen from Potro's U23. Well, I think the game against Korea has to beat that performance.
Has to be the best game.
And you have to consider, like Jason said, there's no Peralta here, and so who's gonna be the the goal scorer? I mean, we're counting on Marco Bueno, who it's an incognito to put it some way or another. What are we gonna get from him? I mean, he did get that crossbar, the ball that hit on the crossbar that led to Pizarro's goal, which is a place to start. But I think Gutierrez and finding ways to make Lozano work. I mean, if you're gonna start Lozano, make sure to make your lineup as good as possible to make that guy work out. If it means that you have to play like Pachuca, play like Pachuca, because your base is Pachuca. I mean, you got Deditos Lopez, you got Victor Guzman, you still got Gutierrez, you got Lozano, you got Eric Aguirre. We'll try and Marco Bueno was born and raised in Pachuca as well. So let's see if Potro uses that recipe. I mean, because I don't see it another way. And if Mexico doesn't get out of this group, it is a fracaso. I mean,
Yep.
I think it is straightforward. And it's a big blow for the youth national teams. I mean, in the 2013 U20 World Cup, Mexico entered as a favorite. They were eliminated in the round of 16. In the 2015 U20 World Cup, which included Victor Guzman, Eric Gutierrez, Lozano, and Eric Aguirre, who are in this U23 team, they didn't even make it out of the group in the U20 World Cup a year ago. So this is a team that has players that have failed. Let's put it that way. And they're against probably one of the toughest challenges, because they will be marked. If they're not able to get out of this group, they'll be the generation that couldn't defend the gold medal adequately. And I think that also plays a role in this pressure with the Mexican footballer,
It does. It definitely does. If we remember that lost generation that we couldn't get to the Olympics, Los Landín, Paleta. I mean, we're still talking about those guys of what happened. Hopefully, we can do that. Cool. Torres on the chat. Let's see. I think Joanna. Let me see who else said. He said that Samuel Jimenez saying that Cubo Torres might be the answer to our problems. People are saying, I wish the 17-year-old Cubo Torres would show up, but we'll see. That's coming out. I mean, here's a tournament where Peralta's gone. We've seen what Cubo can do. We've seen what he did with Chivas USA. Not the greatest competition every weekend, but he was doing at least amazing goals. This is a tournament for him to step it up now that Peralta's gone. He's been with the national team. He's had a lot of experience. We've seen his talent, and we might have to rely on him up top. If we can get that Cubo Torres back that we saw, I think we should be fine up scoring. But we'll see. Jason, any last words for El Tri Olímpico before they play on Wednesday?
The thing that worries me the most, I guess, is just the two teams going in that Korea are going in knowing that a draw would be fine with them, and Mexico knowing they need the win. I think that part right there, I think, is the scary part. Knowing that you need the win against a team that will be okay with a draw. It's a tough place to start. They could do it, though. They certainly have the talent to do it. So hopefully they put it all together. Find those scrappy goals. Maybe it comes from a defender somewhere. Maybe it comes from, as you said, maybe Kubo steps up. Maybe Bueno steps up. Maybe they get those goals. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. If Mexico wins, I think it doesn't matter what Germany does against Fiji. We are number 1 on the group, and we'll face, I think, the group of Argentina, Honduras, and Portugal. Yeah. Portugal looking good. Portugal looks like winning that, putting a team together. Can you imagine the team that Argentina would have if it was like sub-23 players plus 3 overage players? I think Funes Mori would be there. Like just thinking of the team that Argentina would just dominate in that. Granted that we don't have our best too. I mean, we're missing Tecatito, I would say. But If Mexico does, obviously win, they will be going against the second place of that group, and it could be Argentina. Trying to avoid Argentina any way I can. It doesn't matter if they don't have it. It's just Argentina. It's a psychological thing with our players. It looks like we always lose no matter what when we face Argentina. I think the last time we faced them in a tournament, I think, 2011 also, where I think Giovanni Dos Santos, Carlos Vela in Canada, or was it 2012? Where we
the U20 World Cup, that one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that was 2007 actually.
2000. Why am I? Yes, 2005. Yeah, you're right. Wow, 2007.
Yeah.
That's right. It was when Gio and Carlo.
It feels like yesterday.
It does feel like, yes, that was 10 years ago. Yes, I just remember there was 4 years in a row Argentina took us out in every single one of the tournaments that we were in, from the World Cup to the sub-20s to the World Cup again. The Copa Americas, everywhere. Anyways, back to what I was saying. If Mexico, obviously wins, it'd be a big important games that are coming. Take second place. Portugal goes against the C's second place. So it's starting to form on what's happening. I know a lot of people say we got to beat the best, but in these tournaments, to get to the top, if we look at our 4 years ago with London, how we got there, we didn't start so strong. Then we finally got some momentum, and then obviously towards the end. But Brazil might not even make it. No,
that's a good point you bring up, With. I mean, 4 years ago, the third group stage match was against Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that's sort of the game that sort of switched the momentum of the team, because the first games against Korea and against Gabon, it was 50-50. It wasn't amazing performances. But right after the win against Switzerland, that sort of catapulted the team and got them in a row. I think Peralta scored his first goal in that tournament in the third group stage match. And then, of course, came Senegal, who was coming really strong, just banging in the goals. And that game went all the way to extra time, when Mexico had a 2-0 lead, I think. So it was a difficult match, that one against Senegal. And then, of course, it came Japan, and then Brazil. So it's looking that way again. I mean, I think if they get over the hump against Korea, there's a good chance to go all the way. But it's everything is sort of put in this match. It's a win or go home game. So it really feels like it. I mean, definitely.
Well, there we go. Matches on Wednesday. Don't have the time. Does anyone have the time? If on the chat, they could let us know. Usually
3 Eastern. So
3 Eastern.
Yeah.
All right.
Pacific,
12 p.m. Pacific, right in the middle of the day. I know that the Mexican Soccer Show will have either on Thursday reactions, and we'll talk about MX. Follow all of us if you want some live tweets. Naive does an amazing job after the game. Sometimes he does some great periscopes on there. So follow Jason and I and Naive for the game. Let's switch it up. Let's talk about Liga MX. Yes, there's still league going on. Everyone, all the reporters, everyone's at the Olympics talking about it. But Liga MX is still going on. I know that I took a break this weekend because I love the Olympics. I've been watching the Olympics since I could remember. I think my first real Olympics I remember was '88 in Seoul, and La Caminata. I think I remember the Mexican Caminata guy. But for me, it looked like I kind of took away from Liga MX. So if you ask me a question about Liga MX and what happened, I just kind of I was gonna tune into the León debacle, but I just decided to take a break. But Liga MX Jornada 4 just happened. A couple of questions that were out there, or a couple of what we're seeing. Finally Monterrey getting the win. Jason likes to remind that me and Jason are. It's kind of funny that we're both on the show when our teams are doing miserable. But Jason, you're our Liga MX guru since you keep beating everybody, demolishing us in our pool. Out of all of us, it's like, guys, go ahead and take the national team. I'm going to stick to Liga MX. What's happening? Can we already start seeing any leaders? I know the Pachuca team has some players out. Now America with Oribe Peralta, I think it's going to probably take around a month for his broken nose. Which somebody in the chat was saying, why can't he just get a face guard? That's what happens in the NBA. Or and maybe he just wants to keep the Hermoso now wear a face guard. But Cruz Azul and León. probably the worst teams are the worst teams. What's happening with that? Should the fans be start thinking about who can we already start seeing as coming up in the leaders and who's doing a good job in this first 4 weeks, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough 4 games in to know exactly what some of these results mean, but I think some things that are starting to become clear is that I think we're starting to see. I mean, certainly this past weekend we're starting to see Monterrey return to form a bit. The way they went into Stade Lyon and really just laid it on them. Certainly a good sign for Rayados. Sorry about that, Wiso. And but
it's okay. I know you're getting mad because I tweeted.
I'm just trying to, yeah.
I tweeted a Cruz Azul. I think the Las Mexicanas they won 4 straight sets in the shooting, el tiro al arco,
I saw your tweet.
And then they lost 5 straight sets, and I was like, look for that Cruz Azul jersey in the stand. So
and I opened up the reply and I started typing something, and it was really kind of mean, and then I just deleted it and just walked away from the computer for a while. It took a couple breaths, but yeah, my Cruz Azul is kind of a disaster at this point. To no one's surprise, really. Deep breath. But yeah, Cruz Azul, I don't know. They're kind of a mess. In some ways, they're kind of the same problem we're talking about with the national team right now, is that they have like a one-target man kind of situation. Everything is going through Benitez, and if Benitez is the only possible goal scorer for Cruz Azul, and if he's not scoring goals, no one is scoring goals for Cruz Azul. So it's a bit ugly, and it's the same old problem for Cruz Azul, that aging midfield. They're just looking so old out there, with Aldo Leao, who's a very good player, but he's just not getting around the field. And Victor Vasquez, since he's come over, is just he doesn't move a lot. I got to be honest with you. So
he's chilling.
He's just kind of hanging out in the field. So it's just like I don't know. It's kind of depressing at this point. Thomas Boy. I think there was a lot that he's getting wrong at this point. It's hard to lay it all at his feet. I'd love to, because I don't really like him, but I don't know. There's a lot of problems with Cruz Azul, so I don't think there's going to be a big fix. I think they could turn around the season a bit if they start just finding some goals. I mean, it's 1 goal in 4 games, so just a couple goals, I think they could really turn things around, but get back into Liga and lose in kind of a sad fashion. But I don't know. As far as what else is going on in the league right now, I think you see a couple teams starting to rise to the top. I think.
Morelia?
Morelia were just fine last season as well. They put in performances week in and week out.
It's like the Veracruz. Like, there's a team that always does like well, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, Veracruz is doing great. They're in the top.
And Puebla as well. Like, they're just going to beat teams every once in a while, and you're like, whoa, Morelia, whoa, Puebla, look what they did, because they're just kind of solid every week, and they're going to put in a performance, but not necessarily do anything exemplary. I mean, you could say almost the same about Querétaro at this point too, like kind of putting in performances, but you could also see these teams tapering off. Tigres, I think we're seeing them kind of return to where we expected them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Tijuana at the top of the table at this point. I think there's a little bit of fool's gold to that. I think they're going to come down a little bit, but I mean, you watch them play, and they're just a fun team to watch play. And
credit to Piojo?
Well, yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
Credit to if it's him building that roster, I think the most important thing is what they're doing with that roster. I mean, because they just brought in a talented group. So credit to him, absolutely, and credit to the entire staff that's put together that team, because it's an exciting team to watch. And I think they're going to lose a couple of games and not be at the top of the table all season long, but they're going to be there in the end and competing for it for sure.
Yeah. With Cholos, I think it's been impressive. The start of the season, I think it was important for them to get an away win, because their last away game was against Puebla, and it was quite horrible. I mean, the first half that Cholos gave against Puebla was not realistic. It wasn't to the level that we have seen them show at Estadio Caliente in its first 2 matches over there, especially the game against Chivas. I mean, it just ran over Chivas over there at Tijuana. But here with Cholos, I want to see Cholos against Rayados, against Tigres, against America, just to get a good sense of where the team stands. I mean, and then if Cholos does beat those teams, of course, Cholos is a team to be reckoned with at
Don't
the
worry,
top.
Tijuana goes against León this weekend, so we'll get to see what they're made out of.
The thing about Leon also that we gotta point out, we saw is the injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, there's supposedly there's about 9 injured players in Leon right now. I mean, Elias Hernandez played banged up the last game. Andrade also played banged up. Boselli there's never a good moment to say if Boselli is exactly at 100%, because if he's at 100%, you can right away tell that Leon is a powerful team to beat. But when Boselli is not totally fit, it's a weak side, as we have seen with Leon. The support to Luis Fernando Tena is also not that courteous, I would say, coming from the Leon fans, because Luis Fernando Tena doesn't play the style that Matosas played, or PC. Even PC started to play like Matosas at one point. But,
He
it's a
brings the same
transition.
kind of defensive acumen, it seems, that, like, because that Leon defense is just the worst. I don't know what, like, so many easy goals they're giving up. I don't like, it's troubling because, I mean, obviously they're not scoring at the rate you'd expect them to score at, but the number of easy goals they're giving up, I mean, and not even just this past week. I mean, throughout these first 4 matches, just it's troubling. I mean, you look at the injuries, like you said, Naeem, but I mean, they're giving up goals like nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they sort of switch around a little bit. I mean, they brought Carlos Guzman, who was at Tijuana last season, and they brought him to the right back position. Efraín Velarde still as left back, I believe. So I mean, they just easily in the game against Monterrey, actually, it wasn't that. I know Funes Mori got the hat trick, but the player that drove the defense crazy was Jimmy Chará. And Jimmy Chará was sort of an invisible player in Dorados. But Leon's defense is so bad that it made Chará look like a Lionel Messi, basically. So it's really difficult with Leon in the defensive aspect. And with Pachuca got their first loss of the season against Toluca, which I think Toluca had been the weakest side that we have seen after the first 3 games. But Pachuca also, we'll see how this affects. I mean, they don't have the Olympic players, but they also don't have Franco Jara, who was their main goal scorer last season. So I mean, I think though there is a chance that Pachuca will go a little bit down in the top of the table in the next weeks, because they do lack a little bit about especially, I think Jara is really important here. They don't have Chucky, they don't have Pizarro, they don't have Gutierrez, but Jara was banging in the goals last season. Now who's banging in the goals? Well, I don't know if, I think it was Wilson Morelo is a player that they brought. He looks on and off most of the times.
Interesting enough. Let's see other results. America, who credit to or the coach that's doing the things right. America cruising by, not being the flashy, not being the best, but getting important wins. Oh, that's right. On Sunday, a crazy thing happened with the goalie. Sometimes in the same way that Cesar likes to host a show, if I can't come, Marchesin was able to become a forward. If you didn't see that, definitely look it up on YouTube. They're watching the Olympics, and everybody's like, look at what's happening in the Santos Laguna Morelia game. So important stuff. Naib, Liga MX overall, is it the same excitement? Is it because of the Olympics? Is it because of Copa America? But I feel like the last season we were all about, first, so many goals were scored. The second, we have Gignac and everything we're looking forward. Has Liga MX kind of lost its fizzle because of other tournaments? Just not seeing so much hype. Or because we started so early and these guys aren't ready to play yet.
I think a part of it is the dates, and also I have a feeling that since we're in the summer and we're coming after a summer that had the Copa America Centenario and also the Euros just a small detail just because Gignac played, but that's about it. But the Copa America Centenario was important in the summer, so these teams bring in new players, and some of these players don't take 3-4 games to adapt. Sometimes it takes 6 games to adapt, or even 8 games to adapt. They're not Gignacs. They're not Gignacs who all of a sudden just came to Mexico and started banging in the goals. I think there's a lot of teams that have, like for example in Cruz Azul, they brought in this forward Cristaldo from Brazil. Well, he didn't even show up in the squad the last weekend. and they paid a lot of money to bring him from Palmeiras. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that sometimes with Liga MX clubs they just don't organize themselves adequately, and if you don't organize yourself adequately in the off season, you're gonna have troubles once the season starts, because you're gonna start the season slow, and when you wake up, it's gonna be too late, and I think that could hurt certain clubs. And Pumas, they brought in two Spaniards that are taking a while to adapt, especially Berjon, because Abraham is doing okay. But I think that plays a role in sort of the lackluster performances that we have seen so far. I mean, because I'm not gonna tell you, oh my God, Liga MX is playing amazing football right now. No, no, no. I would be lying if I say that. I think
Yeah.
the clubs are really hurting. I mean, it's pretty impressive that Pachuca has had 9 points out of a possible 12 without Chucky Pizarro for the last 2 weeks. So I mean, to some clubs have been doing all right, but other clubs are struggling. Right now, the club that is looking solid overall, I think, is America, because it just has a deep squad. I mean, Peralta left, but Silvio Romero is scoring goals, and I think that sort of separates it apart from other clubs at the moment. But it's early stages, like I said.
Americanista looking well. Not so good for Guadalajara. At least not the greatest of results.
The
I mean, in
Chivas
the last
TV
five.
the Chivas TV stream worked pretty good this
There you
weekend.
go.
too.
That's you can tell us that, Naive, when you're
Yeah.
there. Did you subscribe, Naive?
I do it game by game. If the game is good, I'll watch it. I
How
mean,
much is it? How much is it on the game by day, mate?
it depends. It could be $10, or
Oh my
it depends, because they're in different levels. So it's like A level, B level, and C level.
What'd you pay for
I,
Querétaro?
Querétaro was
That's-
free.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's a
Querétaro
free
was
level.
free. There was a surprising free level this weekend in Mexico with Chivas Querétaro, and I think it had to do with these
How is that?
customers.
This is good. I didn't have this in our notes for the show today, but let's spend a little more time. Naive, what a lot of people want to know, like how is okay? So it was good. It was good. How are the commentators? How is the production? Like, tell us.
I mean, I think overall it's they got one of the, in my opinion, like, one of the best commentators in Mexican football. His name is Enrique Fernando Alonso, and he started his career off at TV Azteca when TV Azteca had Jose Ramon, Faitelson, in the golden ages of TV Azteca. So now Enrique Fernando Alonso actually works for ESPN in Mexico, calling Bundesliga games, Eredivisie games, but he is the main guy in the Chivas TV game, the play call basically. And overall, I think the stream is working fine. I mean, if you have good Wi-Fi, it works. If you have bad Wi-Fi, you might have some difficulties. What I kind of like about the Chivas TV is that in halftime you see the mariachis in Estadio Chivas. And I think that you get that behind the scenes of what's actually going on in the stadium. And actually, before the game starts, you see the team huddle in a circle and do a prayer. I mean, you don't see that. I don't think you see that in Univision. So I mean, I think you see that only in Chivas TV. But I'd be interested to see, because the next game that Chivas will have on Chivas TV will be the Clásico Tapatío between Chivas and Atlas, and I'm wondering, are they gonna do it free? I mean, because I'm cool with doing it free. I mean, it works.
Have
It
you
helps.
paid for a game yet?
I paid for the first one, which was Chivas Monterrey, and a lot of people, everyone went crazy in that one, because they were saying, "Oh, this sucks because I'm paying 1,000 pesos for everything, and like the stream sucks, and I can't see it well," and that caused a lot of problems, because then the government got involved, and since the government got involved, Chivas has sort of been quiet about it.
Wait, how did the
whole
government?
thing.
This is great. How did the government get involved?
Oh
Well,
god.
the customers, it's sort of like Profeco, or sort of like a customer wing of the government that sort of takes care of the customers and making sure that they get the right treatment for what they pay. I mean, but it's crazy. I mean, there are other important things that they could be worrying about, but they worry about Chivas. It's the complicated world that Mexico is.
We're gonna have the
Um,
Chivas TV like protests going down Reforma soon, maybe.
Well, maybe there could be. I mean, that's something. That's a good point that Jason brings up, because I got a feeling that this team in Mexico is not being viewed by the millions and millions of followers they have. I mean, because it's a luxury to have good Wi-Fi, a laptop, or even a smartphone in Mexico. So I wonder how many people are missing out from Chivas games every
Today,
every every weekend.
today on the Chivas TV corner, we analyze, is Chivas TV successful? A lot of Mexicans are not subscribing to the Chivas TV hype. Only, actually, to be really fair, from people that I know, they're way below the subscription for the however many. And I think, you know, what I asked to somebody that's important in Chivas, because I got to be with a lot of people with the Arsenal game. I just simply conversation. I said, in 2 years, how is it going to look here in the United States? And if it doesn't go right, if they don't get this before it can come to the United States, where obviously Univision in that package. So hopefully maybe these free games are a kind of way of getting everybody in to see how it looks, and to see that it's worth it. But it'll be interesting to say. But not to go so much off in the Chivas corner. I think the stray goat and all the Chivas fans on our chat are liking it, and not everybody else. But that's a Chivas corner for you guys.
Yeah, and I don't know if I said the name correctly. Emilio Fernando Alonso. I might have said Enrique Fernando Alonso or something like that. I confused that.
I was like Fernando Alonso, the F1 driver. No, Emilio Fernando Alonso. Yeah, he's ESPN, right? He's yeah. Well, good. Maybe one day the Mexican soccer show can narrate Chivas games.
In English.
In English, that'd be kind of cool. What? All right. Let's talk about. Let's see. So Liga MX. Next of Tijuana and León. I always feel like that's there. But Cruz Azul, Querétaro, Cruz Azul, Puebla, Atlas, Necaxa, Monterrey, Pumas, Pachuca, América, Morelia, Toluca, Tigres, Chiapas, Veracruz, Santos Laguna, Guadalajara. If you had to pick one game to watch, what would it be, guys? Because I can't find one. I have to do a jornada game of the weekend. In the last 3 weekends, I've just been scratching of like, I think this one, but Morelia, America's Morelia really hype it up, and since America's doing so well, because not like Tijuana, León. Tijuana, can they keep going? Is León gonna, those are usually good games. They've had a little bit of a rivalry, and since what they've had, but.
My two games are two Sunday games. I'd go, but I think they also, I think they might, their most interesting games, because I'm interested to see what happens, but I think they could also be just horrible games to watch. So, I mean, I'm looking at Santos Chivas. I think it's interesting to see, like, both teams struggling to score at this point. It'll be interesting to see if one of them breaks out and is able to take advantage there. And Toluca Tigres. Tigres, like I said earlier, rounding into form. Toluca with a good win over a depleted Pachuca. Can they keep it going against a much stronger team? It'd be interesting if they're kind of getting their season back in order, and this would be a big test for them too. So it'd be interesting if that turns out. It could also be an extremely difficult and boring game to watch as well. So,
Naib,
fair warning.
Game of the jornada if you had to pick one?
I'd say the Pachuca Pumas. I mean, just to see. I mean, I'm going random here, but
that's what I'm saying. we all have different games of the jornadas.
But I'll go with that one because I want to see Pumas, a little bit more of Pumas. I think they got how many points they have so far? 8 points, I would say. They got this 2 wins at home, then some draws there. They got a draw over there in Necaxa. Pablo Barrera scored. Lalo Herrera scored. And also Pachuca, just to see where the team stands after the first defeat of the season. Like, how are they going to respond? With this pressure of sort of not having your basic. It's because it's been crazy. I mean, now they don't have Deditos Lopez, and Deditos Lopez has been starting for Pachuca in the first 4 games of the season. So I don't know where Diego Alonso is going to take it.
Well, there it is. All those games could be really, really bad, though. That's the thing. Let's switch it up. Well, that's Liga MX. We'll continue with obviously all the news and live play-by-play tweets that these guys have. What else before we finish the show today? The UFC preseason games ending with Chicharito. I think Jason and Naive, we were discussing what leagues start already or have already started. The Premier League starts. No Mexican players there yet. Dun dun dun. Because we could see after the Olympics and Chucky Lozano gets his butt together. But what? Oh yeah! Congratulations to Raúl Jiménez winning the Supercopa for Portugal. Also adding Andrés Guardado won it a couple weeks ago. But we're starting to see the Mexicans abroad coming in. What leagues are starting, guys?
Liga kicks off this weekend. If you're really into France, you still just randomly following Malaga or not Malaga?
Ajaccio.
Ajaccio. Yeah, still randomly following them. I mean, you could really get into their game maybe this weekend.
Are they still in the first division?
I have no idea.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. That's what they get.
Okay, so the second division in France is probably Ligue 2.
Starting. Ligue 2.
That's probably kicking off too, so dive into that.
The Champions League? I think that's it, right? There's nobody else. I know the Potro guys are starting to play, and some preseason games that are coming in here and there.
FC Porto and Villarreal will play Champions League playoffs. But I still have to figure out the exact dates. It might be this week actually. So I think Porto is playing. What was it? I don't remember I know one of them is playing Roma from Italy. But right now, I don't know. Villarreal is also playing a tough opponent. I think Villarreal is playing Monaco, no?
I think that's right.
Yeah, Villarreal is playing Monaco from France, and Porto, and Porto's playing
Porto Roma. That's right.
Porto Roma. Yeah.
Show work about Mexicans abroad, and I can go back to him. But this time he wasn't on. Cesar had to take a break today. Not anything. Cesar, Tom, and Naib. I'm sure we'll be coming on this week. But well, there you go. Find out for yourself what leagues come out this weekend, because we don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Ask us a question. We'll try to tweet it out. But guys, anything else in Mexican football? I know you guys discussed it. I wasn't on. I was traveling. But Mexico and New Zealand. A lot of people are very angry that we get a team like New Zealand and not, Argentina and Brazil, even though they're playing, South America qualifiers, and the whole world is playing qualifiers except Oceania. So out of everyone in Oceania, we thought, maybe New Zealand would be available. Fiji, you never know. That'd be a great game. It's a great recap. But another game is going to be named pretty soon, according to what my sources in here in the United States. So be on the lookout for Mexico versus another team right either before or the week after, I'm thinking, and that should be named. But that's pretty much it. Osorio is in Brazil, analyzing the team. There was some, he was in the stands, so he's there. So interesting enough, not a lot of news on the Mexican national team. But anything else, guys, with football and football Mexicano? Anything else we need to discuss?
No, I think
we covered everything.
I think
we got it down. Tomorrow,
we're good.
Real Madrid, Sevilla play. Real Madrid against Sevilla, but that doesn't have nothing to do with Mexican football.
Today, Michael Phelps goes for his 23rd gold medal. Missy Franklin swims in the pool, and we see the Americans. I should just work for NBC.
Simone Biles, no?
Actually, you know what? I just get some texts because my family's big on the Olympics. Mexico is diving right now. I think synchronized a 10-meter platform for the guys, if I'm not mistaken. So lots and lots of fun. I always try to tweet out some stuff on there. Enjoying the Olympics like always. But yes, guys, a couple of things. One, Naive Moran writes for ESPN FC. If you didn't know, amazing articles. Naive, are you covering America? Are you just covering overall things for Liga MX? What's going on?
Mainly right now, America, I think, is the main one that we're covering. Also, I went to Pachuca for the Champions League match that took place last week. So I'm hoping I can go more to more Pachuca games in the coming weeks.
You went to Pachuca?
Huh?
You went to Pachuca?
Pachuca, yeah.
Yeah, cool, cool.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So maybe I'll go to the Pachuca Pumas, which will take place this Saturday.
Nice.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, get some bambazos there in Pachuca. And then Jason does an amazing job of wrapping all of the news into a great email, and he wraps down 5 stories that you need to know. Definitely subscribe. It's a great way to get it in your inbox instead of searching what happened in the week. I know all of us come together and we have great articles, but Naive puts it together, the golden ones you need to watch. I have not made it to that list yet. Hopefully one day I will, but I actually need to write more. But awesome job. And Jason, if you can tweet from Soccer Mexicana, how do we get to that subscription for the guys?
Just go to my Twitter at SoccerMexicana, pin tweet at the top, or go to soccermexicana.com. You'll find the sign up. Yeah, subscribe. Just once a week an email, just breaking down, just going through scouring. I do a lot of reading and just finding the best stuff out there that you should be reading about Mexican soccer in English. So one email a week, it's good stuff. So subscribe.
Awesome, awesome. Well, there you go. And also, FoodMex Nation, if you have not followed us on Twitter, would love to have you guys follow a lot of great things, a lot of graphics that we're doing, so lots of fun pictures that we do have out there, especially game day. We have some great images and some video stuff. And also, if you any questions, you can always tweet me out, Wiso Vasquez at Wiso Vasquez. So there it is, a little plug for all of us. It's great to have time at our Instagram. We're not Instagram. We're not there yet. But Twitter and our YouTube channel. Follow all of us. And we're here 7 o'clock on a Monday. Keep that regularly. We'll have another show during the week to talk about what happened with Mexico. Are they in? Are they not? And also debut Liga MX. Probably either Thursday if we all can come together. But that's it, guys. Great to have you guys on. Thank you, Naive. Thank you, Jason. Thank you to everyone in the chat, the Stray Goats, Joel, Mr. Steve Graff. I know everyone's fighting on there. They're talking about Diego Luna at the moment. So, see, the chat can go everywhere. So definitely join in and what we're there, but we're there, guys. So thanks again, Naive. Gracias, Jason. And we'll see you guys in another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show.
Buenas noches.